Welcome back to Jujutsu Kaisen, because today Gege reminded us it is not over yet. In this chapter, Sukuna really let Yuji know that he is the main antagonist, because my god, no one died yet, but this was still a freaking massacre. However, despite Gege Akutami's undeniable Sukuna glaze, this chapter was amazing, and there is an absolute ton of info and details that we need to clear up and review as the story develops. So let's get right into it. Right off the bat, it's explained the nature of both Gojo and Sukuna's black flashes. In a sense, when Gojo's voltage rises and he used 2 black flashes, it's like his brain unlocked a new circuit path in a awakened state. This new circuit relieved the stress on different parts of Gojo's brain and allowed the reverse curse technique to release and flow, once again restoring Gojo's reverse curse technique output. In Sukuna's case, his black flashes should have given Sukuna the same effects, and it's made clear that if Sukuna was able to regenerate his arms, then he can kill all of them. However, even after Sukuna's black flashes, when Yuji struck 7 black flashes at the border of Sukuna and Megami's soul, Sukuna actually lost the opportunity to regain his reverse curse technique output. This would also mean Sukuna actually landed 5 black flashes in total. 1 on Maki, Loru, Maki again, Chozo, and finally he actually snuck one in on Yuji right after him. However, while the sparks of black did not regain his healing power, it did do something else. Yes, Sukuna is now able to use Malevolent Shrine, and it's obvious this is not the same Malevolent Shrine as before. This domain returns to the king, and what's revealed is an agonizing cursed abomination, rather than the normal shrine that we would usually see. In this chapter, it's not 100% explained why Malevolent Shrine is like this. However, this is probably a more raw and incomplete form of the shrine. As we know, Sukuna has suffered much damage and he has lost the function of 3 of his hands. However, by altering his hand signs, he actually uses only 1 hand to mimic Gojo's Indra seal, which is a one-handed seal. Sukuna also used the part of his brain that was unaffected by Unlimited Void to activate his curse technique along with his barrier technique. Ultimately, this is a chaotic maelstrom of a curse technique only possible through multiple impromptu binding vows, and Sukuna's rush of black flashes allowed his Malevolent Shrine to return to him. And it's important to remember that this domain expansion has no loss in output or range. However, there is some very key differences that we will discuss later in the review. In a flashback, the heavy hitters and all the sorcerers come up with a strategy in order to take Sukuna down. So Akari mentions those who want to fight must have reverse curse technique or an anti-domain tactic. Of course, Maki mentions that she can't do either since she has no cursed energy and cannot do Jujutsu. And I think it's funny that this is the one time we actually see a Maki and Akari interaction and they're already just annoyed at each other. So the Yuta Maki Akari beef might actually be a real thing. Moving on though, Chozo says him and Yuji can manage with reverse curse technique. Chozo questions Hikari, Yuta, and Shoko on how they can regenerate blood with reverse curse technique. Hikari does not know how since reverse curse is automatic for him. Yuta's reverse curse is also instinctual. However, Shoko says that she converts cursed energy into blood. Many RCT users can heal themselves, however they are unable to heal others, from one reason being the fundamental difference in the use of their reverse curse technique. The other difference is the body of the target refusing treatment. So oftentimes this is the reason why Shoko can't actually heal everyone. But Chozo's point is that a cursed womb like him and Yuji are able to convert cursed energy into blood anyway, so the prerequisites to learning reverse curse technique has a much lower skill gap for both of them. The only limiting factor is the immense amount of cursed energy needed for reverse curse technique. However, even that wouldn't apply to them. So apparently, if you are a death painting cursed womb, reverse curse technique is much easier to use, which makes a lot of sense. Next, Chozo mentions something about switch training. Then Wee explains the nature of his curse technique. Wee curse technique is the teleportation of targets. If a target is with him, he can transport them to a place or person that has been marked by him. This technique also applies to the soul and the body. If we think of a person's body as a box, then the contents of the inside of the box is the soul. With permission of the individual to use their quote-unquote box, so to speak, this means we can swap the souls of two marked people. This actually is not as dangerous as Mahito's soul transfiguration because Wee does not tamper with the body or open it in any way. The only difference is the contents of the boxes. In other words, the soul is transferred, yet the body and all of its information is retained. Kusakabe uses Yuji as an example. Yuji has gotten so much stronger in 1 year as a sorcerer compared to all of his other peers. This was because of Sukuna. Sukuna performed amazing feats of jujutsu within Yuji Itadori's flesh, and Yuji's body remembered them like muscle memory. So ultimately, it's thanks to Sukuna for Yuji's exceptional growth. And considering Yuji is the child of Sukuna's other half, I guess he can thank Sukuna for those genetics as well. So with this switch training, the sorcerers are able to switch bodies and learn from each other. And Kusakabe first wanted Yuji to master his basic cursed energy control and his simple domain through his body. There actually is some type of binding vow in place and rule that prevents new shadow style from being taught by others, since Saratsuna Ashia, the creator of simple domain, founded its teaching. However, of course, Meimei has found a way to cheat the system, and during that month training arc, the sorcerer pairs could switch twice per person, so they had to choose wisely. This really explains what Yuta meant when he said that they cheated, and why Sukuna cannot even kill Ino, Higuruma, or Chozo with base dismantles since their cursed energy reinforcement improves so much. So now, thanks to the training with Kusakabe, Yuji has unlocked new shadow style simple domain, meaning Yuji now has blood manipulation, shrine, reverse curse technique, soul punches, elite cursed energy manipulation, simple domain, and black flashes. So our boy really went from punch kick merchant to top 5, and I'm only half serious about that, but if Yuji locks in and gets this right, he will be a contender. This isn't someone with potential to rival Gojo. No, Yuji is someone with potential to rival Sukuna. And now Yuji stands before the storm that Sukuna has created. Though as scary as it is, even Yuji can pick up and sense that this domain is incomplete, so there must be some kind of loophole or opening that he can endure. This by far is one of Sukuna's most difficult and technical feats that he has performed in his current state. Within this barrier, on a scale as large as Shibuya, there are some key details to take away. From what TCB is conveying, there is no mention of Sukuna's open barrier. In fact, the chapter points out specifically Sukuna enveloped his domain in an outer shell. We have known since the Gojo fight, Sukuna can choose to close his domain normally. It's like the black barrier shells that we normally see throughout the series. Although the actual scale of the barrier is so vast that we can't even see the outer edge of the shell. Because this wide barrier also has a shell, that also means the binding vow in place that allowed for an escape route is gone. As in Shibuya, this escape route was only possible because Malevolent Shrine was open, and thus few targets could escape alive, like Inumaki for example. However, because of this, the range of the barrier was narrowed down and the domain now had a different operation. So within the materialized landscape, the short hit effect would activate. As we have seen, this is just like the open barrier, since this condition also included real objects like buildings in Shinjuku or Meimei's crows. Sukuna has to include Shinjuku in the landscape as well, otherwise his curse technique would have been unable to target Maki, who has no cursed energy. So somehow Sukuna found a way to include the real world in his closed domain. He really is like a god. Given that this domain expansion is incomplete and very chaotic, this is still a domain with similar output and effect on the level of the one performed in Shibuya. However, in Sukuna's condition, he cannot maintain such a high level domain for long, and in just 99 seconds, Malevolent Shrine would collapse. The sorcerers have to endure this domain until it fails. This is why having an anti-domain countermeasure was so important, as Yuji, Ino, and Chozo seem to be able to use simple domain to withstand Sukuna's storm of slashes. And to much surprise, it looks like Miwa, yes, useless Miwa, found herself useful and protected Maki with her simple domain. So yeah, we really live in a reality where Miwa steps in this battle on Sukuna before even Hikari. That's actually pretty awesome. And Maki needing protection also confirms that this domain expansion targeted her as well. Unfortunately, Yuji's simple domain breaks, unable to withstand Malevolent Shrine, and the full curse technique shreds, even lopping off Yuji's leg. However, much like a death painting, Yuji can reattach the leg from his blood and probably healed it with reverse curse technique. Yuji suddenly noticed that the slashes have just stopped, and they seem to endure the domain. However, Sukuna is not done just yet. Fuga. Sukuna says, "Furnace, open," and then the flames of certain death roar forth. My brothers and sisters, Sukuna is actually about to cook them. The flames are not a curse technique that sorcerers would survive. This is the same combo that killed Mahoraga, so they need an actual miracle to save them from this hellfire. However, I guess as an upside, finally after so long, Gege is probably going to explain what the shrine is and how this curse technique is possible. Since the fan book specifically mentions slashing and hellfire are two aspects of the curse technique, then this confirms that this furnace isn't merely cursed energy manipulation but something more. But this also means that the domain expansion may not yet be finished since curse technique burnout has not yet taken effect. It seems Gege was pretty specific about hiding what Sukuna was saying during Shibuya, instead just blotting the text with a black box. But right now, I'm certain Sukuna's curse technique truly is like a malevolent kitchen, to slash, dismantle, and cleave, then ultimately cook its target. Given that Sukuna's greatest pleasure is eating, and Sukuna is a known cannibal, everything's starting to add up. This is probably one of the most lethal techniques that we have seen, and I'm sure that there are a few more aspects left to this hidden power when Sukuna calls forth Fuga. I've mentioned this a ton when discussing Sukuna in previous videos. However, his shrine curse technique may also have something to do with storage of certain abilities, since it's like he has to first call forth open to gain access to this power. A character in Gege's one-shot before Jujutsu Kaisen chants the same thing as Sukuna, and thus is granted various weapons to use from a mysterious box. So Sukuna's shrine may work in a similar way. His shrine uses the same kanji that means feretory, which is like a place where mudras and divine relics are stored. So in Sukuna's case, this feretory could be like a place where Sukuna holds different aspects of shrine, like the fire, or it quite literally could be like taking the right tools from a kitchen cabinet. Everything would fit Sukuna's criteria and his common theme of eating. So now that the flames are out and shrine is about to be explained, there's not a lot that our sorcerers can do. If the curse technique has the same or even greater output than in Shibuya, that is really bad. Usakabe pointed out specifically Sukuna's slashes alone were strong enough. However, the flames are something that they cannot deal with. So once again, it seems that we break through one obstacle, yet Sukuna puts up another. However, I think that we are entering the final stretch of this fight with Sukuna. As powerful as Sukuna's domain expansion was, it was in decay. It was clearly incomplete, and Sukuna had to muster up every binding vow that he could in order to activate his domain. And not just that, but I'm certain his own shrine curse technique must come with its own set of rules. Then considering Sukuna's actual physical condition, he is steadily getting chipped away from over 20 plus sorcerers throughout this fight. I'm pretty sure Sukuna took the most damage out of any character that we have seen in the series. So all of this would have to lead somewhere and mean something. Even the chapter points out that this is the 11th hour. So quickly we might find that things may be coming to a conclusion soon, and depending on if that's true or not, it could be a good or a bad sign. Nonetheless, it's exciting. Finally, after over 258 chapters, we may actually get real Sukuna lore, and at least get some info on Sukuna's actual power and curse technique. And the best part about it is that this power would also include Yuji, since he also has this curse technique, and Yuji holds a remnant of Sukuna inside of him. So overall, comment below what you brothers and sisters think. Will the sorcerer succeed? Is Sukuna nearing his limit? Will Gege finally give us more lore? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But thank you my brothers and sisters for watching, This has been Enemy Stand User, and I'll see you awesome guys in the next one. Bye-bye.